morning, I'm Pauline Verzosa. It is Monday, the 27th of April, and we're bringing you Morning Matters because your mornings matter. Now first on the agenda, U.S. President Donald Trump was suddenly evacuated from an event after a shooting incident broke out in Washington, D.C. More details in this report.
U.S. President Donald Trump and First Lady Melania Trump were at their table during the White House Correspondents' Dinner in Washington, D.C. when commotion erupted. Secret Service agents quickly moved in and surrounded the first couple. They formed a human shield before evacuating them from the venue. Other officials were seen ducking under the tables as security personnel secured the area. U.S. Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth was also escorted out. The chaos began after multiple gunshots were heard. In a CCTV footage released by Trump, an armed man was seen emerging from a hallway and running past security personnel. He was chased down and later arrested. Authorities identified the suspect as Cole Thomas Allen, a part-time teacher and game developer. The Federal Bureau of Investigation, or FBI, later went to a residence believed to be linked to the suspect. The motive for the shooting remains unclear. But according to the FBI, the suspect fired at a Secret Service agent. The agent was not injured as the suspect was wearing body armor, preventing the bullet from penetrating. More than 2 hours later, Trump held a press conference.
A man charged a security checkpoint armed with multiple weapons, and he was taken down by some very brave members of Secret Service, and they acted very quickly. He was a guy who looked pretty evil when he was down. They had him down. He was fighting hard. He was in my opinion, a sick person. Who would do that but a sick person?
No one was reported injured in the incident. But due to the disruption, the White House Correspondents' Dinner was rescheduled to next month.
Well, back here at home, Attorney Man Scarpio, husband of Vice President Sara Duterte, will file criminal complaints against officials of the Bangko Sentral ng Pilipinas, the Anti-Money Laundering Council or AMLAC, and several members of the House Committee on Justice over the alleged release of confidential bank records. According to Carpio's legal team, the disclosure of the documents may have violated the Anti-Money Laundering Act, the Bank Secrecy Law, and the Data Privacy Act. Those expected to be named in the complaints include BSP Governor Eli Remolona Jr., AMLAC Executive Director Ronel Buenaventura, and Representatives Jerve Luistro, Percy Sendanya, Shell Diokno, and Laila De Lima. Carpio claimed the alleged leak of financial information was used to fuel political attacks and black propaganda in the lead-up to the 2028 national elections. And now, in case you missed it, a Philippine delegation led by Justice Secretary Frederick Vida is now in Prague, Czech Republic. This comes as authorities race to locate former Congressman Zaldy Co amid uncertainty over his whereabouts in Europe. At a press conference held last Friday, Vida said they cannot confirm if Co is still in the Czech Republic. He added that if Co is no longer in the country, an Interpol red notice would be used to track him down. However, the government's request for a red notice has yet to be approved.
There's no such guarantee. So we need to respect their laws.
So there is a possibility that he may have gone out of China.
Possible. We're exploring all things. Basically, ang pinaka natin dyan would be the red notice. But this is actually, pag tinignan nyo itong scenario to, instead of us, di ba, looking at Portugal, looking at other places, we know he's in Europe.
President Bongbong Marcos earlier announced on social media that Co had been arrested in the Czech Republic. The DOJ has declined to say if the announcement was premature and says it will first verify facts with Czech authorities.
I don't want to speculate na baka premature, no? Of course, it could be a reality 5 days from now after my meeting, di ba? It could be a reality. I'll report to you again after my meeting with kung ano yung na-validate at na-verify natin. May disappointment? Possible, di ba? Kasi mataas nga, mas hindi yung pagnanasa. Pero ang ipararating natin sa ating mga kababayan, kung ano man ang sitwasyon, di ba? Hindi naman bumibitaw ang inyong Department of Justice.
Now, in other news, former Congressman Mike Defensor clarified that his wife and daughter are not involved in the business operations of the Chicago club, which was raided by the National Bureau of Investigation over allegations of human trafficking. In an interview with The Big Story, Defensor criticized NBI Director Melvin Matibag, saying law enforcement actions should not be used for political pressure. He claimed the actions against him were politically motivated and part of a broader political conflict. Defensor also said the latest raid marked the third time the NBA had conducted operations involving businesses linked to him.
Basically, ang nangyari dyan is that the establishment or the building is owned by us, not us, but many investors in a corporation. So itong Chicago, particularly the club that they raided, is one of the lessors of that establishment. Just to give you an example, there are many KTV clubs all over the Philippines, but let's focus on, let's say, Soler, Okada, City of Dreams, and so on and so forth. So ito yung mga establishments na parang pinapalabas nila na merong human trafficking. And that's very bad. Yung human trafficking kasi, pinapalabas mo na may coercion, may intimidation by force, because that particular case is unbailable. Now, why is it political? Paano hindi political? Ang daming trabaho ng NBI. Yung mga nightclubs ang i-raid nila. And why did we say it's political? And why are we saying about the employees? Pangatlo na to. The first is a family-owned business of which I have divested even long before, 2-3 years before. Ang nagpapatakbo na yung wife ko at anak ko.
Yeah.
Sinara din. And about 100 employees were involved there.
Right.
Another company, there are about I'm a very minority member, but they elected me as president, of which I resigned in January.
Yeah.
Again, inatake na naman nila, sinara nila. In total, again, in this particular case, yung Chicago Club, and then they're coming up with all these issues about human trafficking at saka drugs. Inatake na naman nila, and they raided it, and now they will file this case. So all in all, we're saying almost 1,000 workers are already affected.
Yeah. Okay.
In the middle of a crisis. No, let me just finish. In the middle of a crisis. Why would they do that in the middle of a crisis? We are willing and we are ready to legally challenge what they have filed.
Right.
And we can prove that they have they have no case against us. Pero paano yung mga empleyado? Kawawa naman yung mga tao. We are not involved in the business because we are involved in the building. Now we are involved technically with so many other investors. In fact, maraming mga investors doon kakampi pa ng administrasyon. Number 2, there are many establishments there. You have 7-Eleven, you have the Korean restaurants. They are lessors and we are not involved in any of their operations.
So basically, long story short, landlord po kayo. And that much you are agreeing to. Pero to say, no, because according to the NBI, your family or your wife and your daughter own the establishment, that is erroneous. Just to clarify.
Yes. Yes, and also, pagdating doon sa ownership ng property, hindi kami lang yan kasi marami kami nag-invest dyan eh. In fact, may office din kami dyan and we are renting to the mother corporation which owns the property.
Okay. So who owns Chicago, the KTV, Congressman?
It's a company, the Chicago company.
Don't go away. We will be back with more stories right after this break. Keep it here on One News. Good morning and welcome back. I'm Pauline Verzosa. And here on Morning Matters, we talk about the most pressing issues and we give you the context behind the headlines. Well, as we know, the Liberal Party continues to express hope that Naga City Mayor Leni Robredo may reconsider her decision not to seek a national post in the 2028 elections. The party said Robredo's strong performance in recent surveys and sustained public support indicate that she remains a viable leader who could help unite a broad coalition. Robredo has previously said she is firm in her decision not to run for the presidency in 2028. She also noted that there are other viable options for leadership compared to the 2022 elections, citing figures such as Senators Risa Ontiveros, Bam Aquino, and Kiko Pangilinan, as well as Pasig City Mayor Vico Soto and Quezon City Mayor Joy Belmonte. And joining us this morning is Liberal Party President Attorney Erin Tañada. Attorney, welcome back to Morning Matters. Thanks for being here.
Good morning, Pauline, and to your viewers.
All right, so Attorney, narinig na po natin from the former Vice President last week. Sabi po niya, sigurado na siya sa sarili niya na hindi siya magna-national sa 2028. Have you spoken to former VP Lenny recently?
Well, no. I sent my birthday greetings. It was her birthday,
Yes.
April 23. And of course, with the deluge of birthday greetings, baka hindi pa napapansin. Anyway, no, I have not spoken to her. But again, we respect her decision. We're hopeful that maybe she may change her mind down the road. But the Liberal Party, Senator Kiko has mentioned, he's the Chairman Emeritus. Chairman Laila De Lima has mentioned that Lenny is the viable candidate. Now, if that will not push through, then we will have Plan B in place. What was clear from our organizational meeting last January is that we prepare for whatever eventuality. We prepare as if Lenny is running. We prepare as if Kiko will run, but Kiko has not mentioned anything about running. So these are possibilities that will still be considered down the road. We believe that the Liberal Party will have one candidate, and that whoever that candidate will be part of that broad coalition in selecting that particular candidate. Pauline, I'd just like to digress a bit because this is the same scenario as the convener group in 1985. When former President Marcos Sr. declared that there will be a snap election in February 1986, of course, you were very young at that time. Immediately, the opposition then were caught surprised because elections for the position of president was supposed to be held in 1987, and President Marcos declared on U.S. television that he would be declaring a snap election. So the opposition then, headed by my grandfather, created a conveners group that included Father Bernas, Noel Soriano, Jimmy Ongpin, and even Cory Aquino.
Yes.
No? And there were a lot of candidates who were interested in running in that election. So like the likes of Pepe Jokno, Jovi Salonga, Maced, Nene Pimentel, Ramon Mitra. So there had to be a selection process that would be in place in order to choose who that candidate would be. But during the interviews, there was still no selection process. There was a common denominator that came out. And what was the common denominator? That if Cory decides to run, they will all defer to Cory.
So you're seeing parallels here, Attorney?
I'm not saying I'm seeing parallels. It's still too early.
Okay.
It's still too early. What is clear is that Senator Kiko had mentioned, no, Lenny's the best candidate. Congressperson Laila De Lima had also mentioned that Lenny is still the best candidate, and the recent Okta survey would show that her numbers are increasing. And if we would compare that to 2021, her numbers are better now than it was in 2021.
But how do you think you can convince former VP Lenny to take another bid at the presidency? Aside from her performance in surveys, the public clamor, I mean, we've heard VP Lenny time and again say wala po talaga siyang parang interest to.
Well, we'll give her space. We'll give her space. we all believe that people are looking for a candidate that can provide solutions, no? And Lenny's trying to provide solutions in Naga. And so we have to look for candidates that may provide solutions for the whole country. Kiko, although not declared, no, and I understand also he's focusing on the problems of farmers and fisherfolk, affordability of prices, which is very important now in times of crisis. And I think he's doing a good job in coordination with Secretary Laurel in trying to fight smuggling and bringing the cost of food down. So these are people who are acting to address issues that affect the household.
But as far as Senator Kiko Pangilinan is concerned, did he express willingness already?
No,
at
he
least
has not.
Internally, within the party?
No, he has not. I think he also, at this point, wants just to focus on the Committee on Agriculture and how we could help the fisher folk and the farmers increase their livelihoods. But within the Liberal Party, the leadership, we are organizing our chapters nationwide, and we keep on saying, let's just organize as if Lenny, Kiko, or someone in the coalition is running, because it is better to organize and be prepared, and when 2028 comes, at least it would not be as difficult, no, as maybe the experience of 2022.
If former VP Lenny Robredo is not your standard bearer, how active do you hope she will be in the campaign process? She already said there are other viable leaders such as Senators Risa Ontiveros, Pa Aquino, Kiko Pangilinan, even Mayor Vico Soto and Mayor Joy Belmonte. But how significant is VP Lenny's endorsement there as well, Attorney? No? Do you think her supporters will naturally gravitate to anyone she endorses?
Well, that will be the problem, no? That we will see. That's why surveys, I'm sure, coming from different camps, one-on-one, one-on-three, no, will all be churning up the numbers and trying to figure out who would be the best viable candidate. And today is, it will be interesting to look at the second quarter surveys, no? They will be doing that maybe sometime in May or first week of June, and actually see the numbers where they are. Some will say that let's not include Lenny in the equation of, and to see the other candidates. Of course, Mayor Lenny had mentioned Vico may not be because of age qualifications, so you're left with the others. So let us see now. Now, some people are saying, remove Lenny and let's see the others where they position themselves. Add Lenny still, no? So you have one permutation, you have another permutation, and a third permutation, and that's how you're going to study and see who is viable in 2020.
But Attorney, do you think you have the luxury of time to see all the possible scenarios and see through all these permutations, or do you feel the pressure already to name a candidate for 2028?
Well, if you look at the numbers, and if you look at the people who support Lenny, who support Kiko, who support Bam, who support Risa, and you add their numbers together, not saying that they are necessary, they will be transferable to each. No, you can say that there is a clamor for better governance, and that's why I think we are still in a better position. No, if you aggregate everything, people are looking for change, not necessarily a savior, because this person who will win in 2028 can be the reboot person, the reset person in trying to set things back in order.
So with that said, attorney, is the party open to an alliance
Of
with
course.
other parties, and form a coalition,
Of course.
even with the administration,
Well,
non-Duterte forces?
Well, first of all, before we even consider talking to other forces, we have to be clear who will be the candidate within the Democratic Liberal Progressive Force. Now, after you've cleared that, that's why it's important to first find out what is the process, and then after agreeing to a process, who would be the candidates, and then go through that process. And then after selecting that person, then we will now decide, no? But what is clear is that if we're to win 2028, no, the vice president position should not come from I think the same camp, because you will just
That's interesting.
You're
Attorney,
not
why?
you're not adding value to your slate.
Okay.
Because if you just look at the numbers, it is still not enough to.
Okay, so you're open.
Well, we'll see. We'll see. It doesn't necessarily mean that you are going to talk to a particular candidate. There might be a tactical alliance. Who that force will be, we don't know yet. That's why surveys will count a very important role in determining how are we going to play the 2028 elections.
So as early as now, attorney, wala pang talks na ganon with any of these
Wala
parties?
pa.
I mean, 2028 seems so far, but yet, it's just 2 years away.
Within the groups that Mayor Lenny mentioned, there are discussions. And what is clear is that if we are to engage as a group in 2028, there only has to be one. And that is clear to everyone.
Okay, Congressman Egay Erice floated the name of Mar Rojas. What are your thoughts, attorney?
Well, we haven't heard anything from Sec Mar, but if he would be the person that will be chosen by the coalition, why not? No, if he is considering to be the standard bearer of LP, again we will go through the coalition process, no, and figure out would he be the best candidate to be fielded in the 2028 elections.
Attorney, what would you say were some of your biggest takeaways in the 2022 elections?
Well, organization. Organization is important. And that's why the Liberal Party is building the organization as early as now. We have been going out in the different provinces, not necessarily talking to politicians, but the grassroots. Because these are the people that would be carrying the campaign in the ground, trying to convince their fellow barangay residents to vote for this person. So I think organization is really important because they will deliver the votes.
Senator or former Senator Franklin Drilon said, dapat makapili na ang traditional opposition ng kandidato by the end of the year. Is that a feasible timeline?
I think that's a feasible timeline. Some people say December, some people say the latest January. So I don't know if Christmas is the right or right after Christmas would be the better time frame. So after Christmas would be January, February. But people don't like to talk about politics in December. So I think around the area would be good.
Well, it's no secret that the frontrunner for 2028 attorney is Vice President Sara Duterte.
Yes.
She's been topping all these pre-election preferential surveys. How will the impeachment proceedings change the Liberal Party strategy for the 2028, assuming that this goes all the way to the Senate and they find the Vice President guilty?
Well, it's a hypothetical question. It's going to be interesting on how the senator judges will vote. Because if let us say, as you said, that the Vice President is guilty, does that change the narrative on how the elections will be in 2028? That's one. Second, who will be the candidate of the PDP Laban? Will it be Baste? Will it be Bongo? We don't know. So the narrative changes, and the question that I believe the Liberal Party will also have to consider with the other allied organizations is that will our narrative change too? But I think we will stick to that there has to be only one candidate coming from the Democratic Progressive Forces.
And as a former member of the House of Representatives yourself, Attorney, what do you make of the impeachment proceedings happening right now?
Well, it's going on smoothly. I think they have enough evidence to already send the impeachment complaint to the Senate and let trial begin. It will also provide the Vice President the due process she is claiming for, because she doesn't like to participate in the House. She would also be able to bring out the evidence to counter what the Anti-Money Laundering Council has said. I think the closed box
Yung
of
galing sa BIR.
galing sa BIR would be the second envelope, no? So that's an interesting, and that will be open maybe only during the Senate trial in itself. And then of course I think there's another hearing this week with regard to the threats, no? Because those are not normal things that you do, threatening the president, the first lady, or the Speaker of the House.
But which one for you, Attorney, was the most significant revelation evidence presented? Based on the allegations on confidential funds, on the unexplained wealth, siguro sa SAL, and then Attorney, no? Because they raised an interesting point there where there was a non-disclosure of a cash on hand. Is that highly unusual for a public official? You filed your own SAL-ins before. For it to be placed under others, ano
That's
ba yun?
highly unusual. Because it's usually you declare your cash in bank.
Okay.
And so if you do not declare that, then people see that there is an amount that is in your bank by the end of the year, then that would be questionable. So you're already tantamount to be charged with perjury based on filing a untruthful SAL-N.
Well, the public will surely be watching this impeachment proceedings very, very closely. If this does proceed to a full trial at the Senate, what do you think, Attorney, the senator judges should keep in mind when voting on this?
Well, look at the evidence. Although we always say that the Senate trial, the impeachment process in general, is a political process, but we're hoping that people will look at the evidence. I've been listening to lawyers of the Vice President. No, one lawyer said that yes, may pumasok, may lumabas, but at the end of the day, hindi naman niya tinago. So it's kind of surprising,
Okay.
that kind of a statement. But what should be looked really into is the amounts that came in. Just look at the inflow. Don't anymore look at the outflow. Just the inflow, and where did that come from? No, and was that declared in the income tax? Because if it was not declared, because that could lead to bigger problems for the Vice President.
Well, hopefully, all these questions will be answered if this does reach the Senate for a full-blown trial. But for now, we'll have to wait and see. Thank you very much for joining us this morning
Thank
and
you,
for
Pauline.
sharing all your insights with us. That was Liberal Party President Attorney Erin Tanyada. Do stay tuned. Morning Matters will be back after this short break. Keep it here. Good morning and welcome back. You're still watching Morning Matters here on One News. The Department of Justice says there is no assurance that fugitive former Bicol Party List Representative Zaldy Co remains in the Czech Republic. Acting Justice Secretary Frederick Vida, who is now in Prague, said he has no confirmed or validated information on Co's current location. Vida also said there is no guarantee that Co is still in the Czech Republic and did not rule out the possibility that he may have left the country. Earlier, President Bongbong Marcos announced Co's reported arrest in the Czech Republic. Meantime, the Ombudsman will subpoena former lawmaker Zaldy Co in connection with the flood control project investigation. Ombudsman Jesus Crispin Remulla said Co must explain the allegations once he is brought under Philippine jurisdiction. He said custody over Co is needed so he can face the cases and the court can proceed with hearings. The former lawmaker is facing malversation and graft cases linked to alleged flood control corruption in Oriental Mindoro. Now, to make sense of Zaldy Co's situation, let's talk to Integrated Bar of the Philippines National President, Attorney Alan Panolong. Attorney Alan, good morning and thanks for being back here on the program.
Hi, good morning, Pauline, and good morning to all our avid viewers of your program.
Okay, first of all, Attorney, over the weekend, we heard Acting Justice Secretary Frederick Vida saying that it's not fake news. At a certain point, Zaldy Co was under the jurisdiction of Czech authorities. From a legal standpoint, what does that mean and what does that actually tell us about the situation of the former lawmaker?
Oh, well, based on the reports that we read over the, several platforms, it could be possible that Zaldy Co was apprehended or probably detained in Czech Republic. But for whatever reason it is, we really have no idea. So I believe the way I read the information, it could be a possible violation of immigration laws of the Czech Republic.
Because there seems to be hesitation on the part of the administration, Attorney, in using the term arrest when it comes to this situation of former Congressman Zaldy Co. But legally speaking, help us understand, Attorney, ano ba yung nuances nitong term na arrest and why would authorities be cautious in applying this to describe what happened to Zaldy Co?
Because legally, when we speak of the word arrest, it pertains to a detention of a person facing a crime or a person who has committed a crime or a person who is actually facing an outstanding warrant from a judicial authority.
And what the DOJ used here actually was there was a deprivation of liberty to a certain degree. So if na-flag po itong si former Congressman Zaldy Co at the Czech border, ano po kaya yung mas precise na legal term na pwedeng gamitin? Earlier you used the term apprehended. Is that more accurate word to describe siguro ano pong nangyari kay Zaldy Co?
Oh, well, it would really depend on the facts and circumstances. But I think the rightful term used should be detained. So, pwedeng ang detention naman is hindi naman siya necessarily that the person is facing a arrest warrant. It could be that that person's liberty is being restrained by reason of some clarification from the authorities. For instance, they are clarifying the identity of the person and the traveling documents that he has at that moment. So that is allowed actually in several jurisdictions. So, however, if that person is found to have committed violations of the, especially the penal laws of that jurisdiction, then it can lawfully detain further and be arrested.
But how likely is it, Attorney, that former Congressman Zaldy Co was released already by Czech authorities? It's been over a week already since the news broke out that he was caught in the Czech Republic.
Thank you for asking, Pauline. The problem is that the informations given are very limited. We don't really know the exact facts of the case. the first thing that was reported was that it was alleged that since his Philippine passport has been cancelled, so he might probably violated immigration laws. So if it's a violation of an immigration law, so that is a domestic concern of Czech Republic. So we don't really know what carries a penalty for a violation of an immigration law of Czech Republic. So that's one thing that we have to know. Then if it was not reported if he committed a crime against against probably some penal statutes of Czech Republic, which carry a penalty, or which would have been arrested, or which would place him in a longer detention. So medyo malabo kasi yung facts. I understand maybe some facts are being kept out of public, in order to probably maiwasan yung alam mo na yung proseso na ginagawa ng Philippine government. So we understand that.
Well, kahit si Secretary Vida, aminado po na as of now, limited pa po yung information na meron sila on the status and whereabouts of Zaldy Co. Kahit na nasa Prague na po sila, a high-level coordination team was sent already there, and yet they didn't really get much details yet. He cited yung General Data Protection Regulation under the European Union. Sabi niya, these are specific and strict laws on data privacy. Walk us through some of the laws there, Attorney. How restrictive are they kahit na yung authorities na po natin yung humihingi ng information on a fugitive?
Well, for one, this is a European member of the European Union or European country. So napaka mature nung kanilang laws, and especially with respect to data privacy. And considering also that we don't have extradition treaty with the Czech Republic, so I think as far as the Czech Republic is concerned, parang wala tayong pag-uusapan, parang ganun eh. So really, that puts a hindrance on the part of the Philippine government to fully intervene and to fully know the details of the circumstances surrounding the detention of Zaldy Co. So had it been that we have an extradition treaty, probably it would open up more discussion on the relevant issues of the detention. So kaya medyo tingin ko medyo snub yung Czech Republic of that matter. And knowing that it is a European country, cases on data privacy is very sacred. So just like in the United States. So mahirap po kumuha ng mga essential information relative to personal details of a person. So, ganun po yun.
So, Attorney, since wala po tayong extradition treaty with the Czech Republic, ano po yung nakikita niyong pinakamabilis and pinaka-realistic na way para ma-secure po natin yung custody of Zaldy Co?
In the absence of an extradition treaty, we can actually go for number one, deportation, because that is the easiest route. So we can ask for a deportation, considering that Zaldy Co is no longer in possession of a legitimate or in possession of a valid Philippine passport, because as we all know, his passport was already cancelled. So madali pong proseso yun. Secondly is that we can even ask for the cooperation of Czech Republic with respect to the United Nations Convention Against Corruption. So Czech Republic is part of that, and if a person is facing corruption charges from his country, the Czech Republic has the obligation to actually cooperate for the deportation of that person within their jurisdiction. So these are the easier roads, because the extradition will take time. We need to, the Congress has still to pass that law. So it's a long shot. So these are the two things that would make the return of Zaldy Co to our country more or less practical and faster.
What about an Interpol Red Notice, Attorney? The DOJ said it is already working to secure one, but how long does that usually take?
The Interpol Red Notice is actually mabilis din yan, no? But usually these are purely law enforcement agencies working hand in hand for the immediate to locate the person within their country. So it could be also a convenient and easier way of having Zaldy Co return to our country.
Okay, Attorney, now let's shift to another key figure in this flood control scandal, former Speaker Martin Romualdez. The Office of the Ombudsman has already secured a freeze order and a precautionary hold departure order. How significant are these developments, and what does that tell us about where the Ombudsman is in their case buildup, in their investigation?
The precautionary hold departure order is, I think, it is a measure where person facing investigation may be prevented from going out of the country or to go abroad in order for him or her to face the charges. Supposing a reasonable, a probable cause exists to indict him or her for corruption cases, no, or among other things. So tama po yun, no? Any especially for public officers facing graft charges. So dapat lamang na hindi mapali sa bansa para mapanagutan niya yung kanyang charges. And we just spoke about Zaldy Co, who allegedly violated our anti-graft laws. So the cases cannot proceed without his presence. So yun ang problema eh.
Well, aside from that precautionary hold departure order, meron nga din po yung freeze order, no, on the former Speaker Martin Romualdez. The Ombudsman also filed an application as well for a hold departure order, precautionary one for Senator Cheese Escudero and businessman Maynard Ngu. But does that mean, Attorney, na may hawak ng ebidensya, malakas na ebidensya ang Ombudsman by issuing all these measures? And can we expect an arrest warrant to come soon?
I believe so, no? Because the Office of the Ombudsman, given his machinery, no, and given their expertise in the conduct of investigation, especially on corruption cases, probably they have established more or less a reasonable certainty of a conviction that the persons being sought for precautionary hold departure order are probably guilty of the charges. So they will not actually do that if there are no sufficient evidence to indict these public officers.
But maraming nagsasabi po magiging challenging po yan for the Ombudsman because there is no paper trail, wala po masyadong hard evidence. But can you walk us briefly, Attorney, ano po ba yung mga elements na kailangan to prove plunder, graft, malversation, and money laundering? And where should investigators look kung wala nga po itong money trail?
Oo, napakadami na, no? Anyway, even if there is no paper trail, but if apparently the public officer who obviously benefited from the fruits of the crime, then he or she may be held liable for that, no? It is not necessary that an actual hindi naman necessary that in actuality makikita mo siyang tanggap ng pera. So it could be through other means, like the use of other people, the use of dummy persons in order to receive the fruits of the crime, or it could be that he was benefited from that, no? So there are many cases where there are many cases of showing that the public officers actually benefited from the fruits of the crime, although it could be that there are no papers to point out that he or she was directly involved in that transaction. So marami pong paraan, hindi lang po yan through by a hard evidence that could show, no? It could be also that through a negligence, no? If that officer allowed negligently to prosper the fraud, then he or she could be possibly held liable for that, because he or she negligently, when in the first place it would have been his or her duty to ensure that the fraud will not be committed. So pwede po, marami po yan. So the evidence, Madam Pauline, will be appreciated in its totality.
All right. Well, thank you very much for breaking that down for us. That was Integrated Bar of the Philippines National President Attorney Alan Panolong.
Thank you so much. Mabuhay po tayong lahat.
Well, the Sandiganbayan is set to hear the request of the Office of the Ombudsman for a precautionary hold departure order against Senator Cheese Escudero and businessman Maynard Ngu. And for the latest, we have our mobile journalist, Arles de los Santos, reporting. Arles, anong pwede nating asahan today?
Pauline, inaasahan natin na actually 8:30 schedule talaga ay yung pagdinig nga ng sandigan kay Senador Cheese Escudero at sa negosyante na si Maynard Ngu. Pwede natin asahan ngayong araw, Pauline, na ilalabas na yung desisyon dito kung pagbibigyan nga ba yung hiling ng Sandiganbayan na pagbawalan na makalabas ng bansa sina Escudero at Ngu habang iniimbestigahan para sa mga posibleng kaso na plunder, graft at indirect bribery. Kaugnay pa rin yan ng flood control scandal na kung saan sinabi nga, matatandaan natin, si dating DPWH Undersecretary Roberto Bernardo na state witness ngayon sa flood control scam na nakausap niya umano si Ngu at sinabi nga na hiningan siya nito ng listahan ng mga proyekto para na pwedeng ipasok sa 2025 GAA na kung saan nga 20% yung umano'y cut na o commitment kickback nito na ayon sa kanya ay i-deliver niya ang 800 million kay Ngu at sinabi na ito daw ay para talaga kay Senador Cheese Escudero. Pero matatandaan natin, Pauline, na mariin ng pinabulaanan at itinanggi ni Escudero itong mga paratang na ito at sinasabi lamang na ang hakbang na ito at ang pag-implicate sa kanya ay para lamang dungisan ang reputasyon niya at ng Senado. Pauline.
Ano naman yung naging pinakadahilan ng ombudsman para mag-file ng request for a precautionary hold departure order dito nga against Senator Cheese Escudero and kay Maynard Ngu? Nag-apply ba, as far as you know, si Senator Escudero ng kahit anong travel authority in the recent days or weeks?
Pauline, yan yung hindi pa natin makukumpirma kung hiniling nga ba ni Escudero na makalabas ng bansa nitong nakaraang mga linggo o nakaraang buwan, pero at least sa bahagi ng Office of the Ombudsman, hinihintay pa natin yung pinakadetalye ng kanilang ex parte precautionary hold departure order. Pero matatandaan natin na itong paggalaw na ito ay hindi basta-bastang tinitrigger lamang ng wala. Kaya dating House Speaker Martin Romualdez may request for travel sa ibang bansa. So aabangan natin kung meron din ganyang impormasyon. Pero at least malinaw naman yung hiling ng Office of the Ombudsman na pagbawalan lumabas sina Escudero at Ngu habang iniimbestigahan nang sa gayon maharap nga yung mga alegasyon at posible na mga reklamo na kanilang kaharapin kaugnay ng flood control scam. Sa ngayon ay inihingan pa natin ng opinyon o ng tugon dito si Escudero, pero ngayong araw pa rin ay asahan natin na magkakaroon na ito ng desisyon.
All right, thank you very much for that report. That was mobile journalist Arles de los Santos reporting from the Sandiganbayan. Now, in other news, Manila Electric Company, or Meralco, explained that pass-through charges in electricity bills consist of mandated subsidies and taxes that are remitted to the government through proper agencies. Meralco Corporate Communications Head Joe Zaldariaga said these charges help fund government programs, including subsidies for senior citizens and lifeline consumers, as well as renewable energy initiatives that support cleaner power. He emphasized that Meralco does not earn from these charges, noting that they are implemented across all distribution utilities and electric cooperatives nationwide and not just Meralco. Consumers are also encouraged to seek clarification if they have questions about their billing. And now for the latest on the weather, the easterlies will continue to affect the country according to Pag-asa. Sorsogon, Northern Samar, Eastern Samar, Southern Leyte, Dinagat Islands, and Surigao del Norte will experience cloudy skies with scattered rains and thunderstorms. Metro Manila and the rest of the country will have partly cloudy to cloudy skies with isolated rain showers or thunderstorms. Meanwhile, Pag-asa says no low-pressure area is currently being monitored for possible tropical cyclone formation. MediaQuest has officially opened the new MVP studio in Mandaluyong City, a state-of-the-art venue set to become the new home of Vibe and other live entertainment shows. Mobile journalist Ray Vicente has that report.
There's a new home for Vibe and other shows. The new MVP studio opened its doors last Saturday, April 25, for staff and programs of MQuest, Signal, and TV5. The state-of-the-art broadcast studio can accommodate up to 800 audience, with its wide space fit for different performances.
Itong studio na to is very flexible. It can be for any other live event. It can be for games. It can be for other shows that will require an audience and will require live presentation. Nakaka-proud that especially during this time for companies, for MVP to invest in something like this for the entertainment industry, for us, for giving a place for artists to perform. It's a wonderful commitment to entertainment.
To officially open the new studio, a mass and home blessing were held, followed by the fan-powered OPM Countdown Show Vibes live performance. CEO and President of MQuest echoed this step as a big investment, home for different Signal live contents including Vibe.
It's a big investment for MediaQuest actually, but we believe in making it a home for Filipino content, live content, and one of them is Vibe. Vibe is a production which we'd like to be for OPM music, the young OPM music, a place where people can show their talent.
To welcome a new era for Vibe, a major Vibe party was held with its jocks, OPM artists, and cast of upcoming TV5 shows, moving to a bigger stage from the Meralco Theater to the MVP studio. However, MQuest CEO and President said that this is just the start, as more developments will happen in the newly opened studio.
There's a lot of development that can happen in this current location, and this one is a commitment to making live entertainment really an experiential process for everyone.
The new MVP facility is located just behind the TV5 Media Center in Mandaluyong City. Kapatid Ray Vicente, we are One News.
All right, and that wraps up today's episode of Morning Matters. We hope we've given you just the right start to your morning. Let's make the day matter. I'm Pauline Verzosa. Kapatid, we are One News, all sides, all the time. A study on the epidemiological burden and cost of obesity in the Philippines projects that cases could surge to over 44 million Filipinos by 2040. Now, Novo Nordisk is offering a new option, Wegovy, a once-a-weekly injectable medication approved by the Philippine Food and Drug Administration for weight management. It is based on semaglutide, a molecule that mimics GLP-1 or glucagon-like peptide-1, which is a hormone the body naturally produces to regulate appetite. The problem is that this hormone only lasts about 2 minutes in the body. Novo Nordisk says it has modified the molecule to last a full 7 days.
So what Novo Nordisk has done is we've brought innovation. We've modified the hormone a little bit to make it last for 1 week, 7 days. And that's ultimately how it helps people, because it helps people with obesity feel full longer and feel full and feel lighter.
Wegovy is indicated for adults with obesity or those who are overweight with at least one weight-related condition such as diabetes. It can also only be taken by individuals aged 12 and above. Beyond weight loss, the company also highlights benefits to other vital organs.
We can really confidently say that we bring the medication not only help the patient to reduce weight, but also to protect the patient's heart, patient liver, and also kidney as well, and help the patient to live a fuller life and more accomplished life. And that's ultimately our goal.
The drug's active ingredient, semaglutide, has been in use since 2017. First as Ozempic, Novo Nordisk's treatment for type 2 diabetes. The company says the two are not the same. Wegovy is formulated at a higher dose specifically for weight management. As for safety, the most common side effects are gastrointestinal, such as nausea, vomiting, and diarrhea. The company says these are typically mild to moderate and may improve over time.
So any updates on safety, we usually notify our regulating bodies, and then of course we take the necessary steps as well to ensure that our healthcare providers are informed.
Still, there are questions the company has yet to fully answer, particularly on how long patients need to stay on the drug and whether there is a plan to eventually wean them off it. Novo Nordisk acknowledges that obesity is a chronic condition requiring long-term treatment and that the data is still coming in.
We know this is a chronic disease which requires a sustainable long-term treatment. But we are also seeing a lot of early data coming in, but we need to wait and watch.
The longest known patient has been on semaglutide for roughly 10 years since its 2017 launch, but doctors say more data is still needed. What is clear is that the medication is not a silver bullet. It cannot work alone.
The medication alone cannot solve the problem. We require a lot of awareness, education, access, and many stakeholders coming together to offer a sustainable solution to this chronic disease or the chronic problem.
Wegovy may vary per pharmacy, and because it is a prescription medicine, it must only be taken under strict medical supervision. Kapatid Amy Atienza, we are One News.